What's going on, YouTube? Today we're going to talk about our differences in opinion. I'm a 0311 X 0311 Grunt, and this fella here is an X something different. So who are you, and what did you do?
So my name's Alex Bowen. I was in the Marine Corps for 4 years. I joined a year after you, so 2012 to 2016. My MOS was 0651, so I worked as a cyber networking operator, even though I guarantee you they've changed the name of that MOS because I think they changed it twice just in the time that I was in. It's just cyber that I worked in, mainly data distribution, ship-to-shore networks, shoreside networks, server builds, and routing and switching. So a bunch of stuff with Cisco and CompTIA.
There you go. So
yes,
just
sir.
to clarify before we talk about anything, we definitely know each other outside of making videos and playing video games.
Very true.
I grew up with your brother, and you grew up with my sister around the same age, and we have all worked at the same places and growing up, going through high school. So it's not like this is,
Yeah, no, I'm not a stranger by any stretch of the imagination. I think you joined 1 year before me, so in total our Marine Corps time spans from 2011 all the way to 2016.
Yeah, that's a good point to make. So I guess if we're talking about wanting to do the different things or doing different jobs, I guess what was the reason that made you want to do what you did?
So I don't think you had the same recruiter as me. I won't say his name, but up in Georgia, I had a recruiter that was a communicator. Mm-hmm. So I literally joined the Marine Corps because my buddy's car broke down. My friend's car broke down and he was getting recruited in. So I went up there and got bamboozled into taking that little pre-ASVAB test. Ended up scoring super high, and that bled into me getting up with a recruiter. I was 17, so I depped in and was going to be in for a while. I was actually in the dep for about 11 months.
Me too.
But I ended up picking that job because it was my recruiter's job. He had a bunch of information on it. He told me like different directions that it can go. But to clarify, I never once considered doing infantry or really anything combat arms. That was not in the cards for me.
So I think I was completely different. I remember going to the recruiter, and my recruiter was a motor T guy, I think, from what I remember. And I would just, the preliminary thing here is that this is a long time ago for me. I joined in, like you were saying, 2011.
Yep.
It's 2021. That was 10 years ago. So a lot of, I don't even remember half of my deployments, much less day-to-day life and things. I think it probably gets better with time in your mind. You try to justify how the horrible things weren't as horrible. I don't know, but I'm just saying we're not experts. We've been out for a while and we've kind of matured too. So the people that might talk about aren't necessarily the people we are now. But my recruiter, I remember telling him that I wanted to be an infantry guy, and he tried to tell me not to. He was like, "Man, that's gonna suck," and I was like, "Yeah, I know. That's what I'm trying to go do it." I really wanted to shoot and move. I think looking back on it, I really wanted to do combat deployments, and that was the only thing that I really cared about, because Marines are the ones that do that, I guess, the best or the most, or theatrically, I don't know. But anyways, I remember him being like, "Man, that's gonna suck. You sure you don't want to do something else?" And I was like, "Yeah, I want to do it." And he was like, I don't know if they had with you, but if they had that little spiel where they had the little cards on the little ring, and they were honor, courage, commitment, all that BS,
travel and all the other stuff. Do you want to travel? Do you want to go to college? It's all the benefits of the military and none of the bad stuff, and you just put them in a priority list.
Well, I remember him taking that out of the drawer, and he was like, "Are these any things that interest you?" And I was like, "Yeah, dude, I want to do it. Just sign me up." And he just put it back in the drawer, and he was like, "All right, well, if that's what you want to do." And I was like, "Yeah, dude, let's do it." And that was pretty much it.
You were probably similar to me though. I was literally dying to go to boot camp. I did not want to be there for 11 months. When I was in the delayed entry program, I was constantly asking them, if you get an opening for literally tomorrow, I don't smoke pot, I don't do anything crazy, you don't have to worry about me. Send me. And I got one or two calls, but then the person actually ended up showing up. But I do have a question for you, pertaining to you were I wanted to go on combat deployments and be infantry. So is there, because I always felt this when I was in, again, my experience is anecdotal, and it's also outside of the infantry life. Is there like a subsect, like a subgroup or a different tribe of infantry that are the people that combat deployed? Because all the people that I interacted with were typically first enlistment people on a UDP
Yeah.
to Okinawa, which I should bring that up. Okinawa was my first duty station. So if you're in Okinawa on your first enlistment, chances are you have not deployed. You're going to be out there for like 6 to 9 months on a ship. But there's obviously people who are, E5s, gunnery sergeants, staff sergeants, and whatnot, who went on several combat deployments. And it seemed like there was a difference between them and then the people who had not deployed.
Yeah, I think, and I don't know for sure, but it seemed like, well, okay, so I don't even know. I'm probably going to fumble a lot here because I'm pulling out of my ass, but
That's fine.
for a lot of the units that are active in wartime or victory units, just like 3-8, and I don't know how true it is, but I saw an article on it the other day that the unit that I was in, which was 3-8, got disbanded because there's no conflict. So I think in times of war they stand up units that are called victory units, and they specifically exist to do combat deployments. And if you get into one of those units or you stay in long enough, you'll rotate to a combat deployment. I just got lucky because I was in high school. 2 weeks after I graduated high school, I went to boot camp. A week after boot camp, or the 10 days, I went to SOI. I dropped directly to the fleet. I went to SIF in the fleet and stuff, and then I went to CAX and all the stuff, and then I left. So like I joined in June of 2011. My first combat deployment started in May of 2012, somewhere in there. Because I remember I was 19 at the time, and I turned 19 in Afghanistan. So less than a year from me going to boot camp, and coming back, I was deployed. So I think I just got lucky.
Yeah. And I mean, was there, like, when you came back from your deployment and you have new guys showing up, is there like a difference between them and then some of the guys who were kind of newer like you that literally got pumped straight into a deployment?
No, I think that's an individual thing, but when you think about it, not trying to take anything away from the old guys, but the only difference between, in my mind, and I think a lot of people look at it this way, the only difference between them and me is that they were born before I was. So like I think that you do probably when you hit the fleet, you've been so like cultured.
Yeah.
And you've had not a lot of time at home that you train to the standard, you meet the standard, you drop, and then what happens once you drop to the fleet, whether you get soft or you don't is kind of on you. But I don't know. I think it's kind of tough, I think, question to answer. I think that throughout time we're gradually getting softer. But if if something popped off right now, everybody would stop caring as much about boot blouses. They would stop caring as much about whatever formation times or whose uniform dress blues are ready. People would stop qualifying on the range every year, and then they would just pump deployments. So it shifts, I think, the want to and the need.
So kind of the reason why I was asking you that is because like on the Pogue side, 1,000,000% there is this like wave of pretentiousness that wipes over someone, even though they're like a satellite communicator. Mm-hmm. If you can find me a single person who works on a Phoenix satellite that has ever been outside of a fob, I'll literally give you $1 million. They sit on the fob. So I remember I got into like a really heated argument with this one guy, and he just, every time he was losing an argument, he would just say, well, you haven't deployed, which I have now. I actually deployed with the Army, but still I was like, you did your job in a different place. Congratulations. Yeah. You could go out to 29 Palms and do your job. You were on a fob that took no rockets, no indirect fire. You literally sat there and made the shit spin. It's not.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, I think so in that, the correlation to me is like, I feel like I didn't do what I wanted to do because I didn't see as much like action as I wanted to. So like my first combat deployment, or my first deployment, the Afghanistan one, like nothing really happened. We were there. I spent, I did like 9, 10, sometimes 3-day patrols outside of the wire. And we would like just get bored and just like dance and shit like in in like fields and stuff. Like we'd go walk through like pot fields and just like
Yeah.
I just remember I was a saw gunner at the time and I was like, man, I wish somebody would just shoot at us. Like just somebody just do something. Like let us like let us out. Let us go. Let us do it. You know what I mean? Like
I mean, Tim Kennedy does a really good job of breaking that down, and he talked about how he worked with the infantry side of the Marine Corps, and he was like, that was always his opinion. It was like, it's a bunch of pit bulls that are just out there, but
yeah,
and then
dude, we had grenades, and I just remember being like, I want to throw one of these motherfuckers. Like, let's, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, come on, man, let's blow something up. Let's call something in. Somebody shoot at us. Let's go. And it just, I don't know. It just sucks that like, obviously it's good that we did lose 3 guys, but not comparatively speaking, like it was a lot less rough than a lot of the older guys had it. So I mean, we were blessed in the sense that a lot of people didn't get hurt, but I think a lot of us still felt let down that nothing happened either.
Yeah, no, I mean that's understandable. Especially that would be like me doing I mean, it's a completely different. This is a terrible example, but the comparison that I have would be like, hey, you're gonna go set up a network. Oh, once you get there, the network's already set up. Like, yeah, you're just gonna sit there and maintain it for a while. Make sure that no one, comes in and does anything to it, and not just be like, "That's not what I signed up for. This sucks."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's like you spend months training, and like you do all these kill houses and shoot houses, and you do all the ranges, and you do all the preparation, and you're running 9 miles a day, and you're, whatever, and then nothing, and then it's just like, okay, well now we're gonna just sit here. Or we're going to go on patrol and just walk to death. You're going to do 50-click patrols and, nothing's going to happen. It's like it's almost like working without getting paid, I feel like. I don't know. Like there's no prize at the end of the tunnel. Like
I think, yeah, like a good comparison is like because we've both held civilian jobs as well. Like a civilian job that's advertised as something and then you get on the team and it's not at all what it was advertised to be. And you're just like, sitting on your thumbs, which luckily I had on my side of things. It was just all technical training. I did 2 years out in Okinawa, and then I went over to Yuma, which Yuma is a training ground basically exclusively for first-time flying pilots and whatnot. We run WTI. So I've been in training grounds or PATCOM my entire Marine Corps career. So there wasn't even a chance for me to go on a deployment. I didn't deploy until here, like, I think we got back, what was it, November?
Yeah.
So out in Iraq where they were firing some missiles and trying to have a good old time. I went out to AAAB, if you remember that. That's where Iran fired those missiles.
No, I honestly, like, nothing against that, but I've been out of the loop, man. Like
yeah.
I don't
know.
I
get that.
I don't hear anything anymore. So like all my friends now that are still in have all moved. Like I have a scout sniper friend. There's a couple people went to MARSOC. Like they're just the people that I seem to be around. They either got out or they found something better. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think I saw a video. Wasn't that was that your buddy that's scout sniper? Mm-hmm. Where he had like the inverted camera.
Yeah, he didn't want to put his face on there.
Yeah, so no, that's understandable. That's why I'm kind of teetering on the Army stuff. I don't mind talking about, but. Mm-hmm. Got to keep everything nice and kosher.
Yeah,
but
nice and clean.
There are also, I will talk about this. There is a massive influx of people. I feel like it's always been this way, but just realizing it, having joined the Army after I got out of the Marine Corps. My graduating class, I worked in air defense artillery. I worked on the CRAM systems, which are counter rocket artillery and mortar. They are the land-based systems of the Sea-Wiz that was on a ship. If you guys have ever seen the videos on that. It's like a massive, it basically puts up a sheet of metal to take down indirect fire.
Yeah.
But over half of our graduating class were prior service Marines.
Yeah, I saw a meme the other day that said, it was a Rick and Morty meme with the butter cutting robot, and it was like, you exist to make better future Army soldiers.
Army soldiers.
Which is funny because I'm going to OCS next month. So
that's amazing to hear. So for OCS, I thought you were trying to fly. Are you trying to fly through the officer route?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then probably warrant officer if anything happens with that, I would assume.
Yeah, so my contingency plan is like I go in as an officer. I'm fully qualified for everything, but just they say they just don't like the way I look or something, I don't know. And they say no. Then I only signed a 1-year contract because it's through the National Guard. So if they won't let me, then I've already talked to the warrant officer guys. They said that they would send me, they'd fill out my packet or whatever and send me.
Dude, they are bleeding for people. Mm-hmm. I'm technically out of the Army as it stands. However, I still get emails all the time from them.
Really?
Because, if you have the ASVAB score and you're short enough, because there is a height requirement for it. Or no, sorry, that's for pilot for jets. But for helicopters, they're bleeding for people.
Yeah.
Their retention rate, I think I talked to Okada about that, and it's the biggest issue is they have people that are waiting for promotions, and it's way out of proportion. Mm-hmm. The people who are Chief Warrant Officer 3, which is your retirement rank, versus 1 and 2, they don't have enough 1 and 2s to fill those spots once those 3s either get out and retire or move up to 4.
Yeah. But yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to money. They don't necessarily pay a whole bunch. I would be completely fine with it, but I think the civilian side of things, they pay you a lot more. And I think at this point they have like a 10-year. They're trying to turn it to a 10-year, or they already did 10-year service contract, which is like.
Yep. That's an insane amount of time.
If they really, I mean, I'm no rocket surgeon, but if they really wanted to keep people, they could pay them more, or they could cut the term down, because that would be more attractive to people, saying like, okay, I'll owe you 4 years instead of 6, then I'll do it. You would get more influx than just being like, hey, you got to stay for 10 years, and now nobody's like, yeah, I'm not touching that. I'm not.
Yes, especially if you want to go to the warrant officer route, there are certain prerequisites that you have to have for that. So chances are you've probably done 1 or 2 enlistments already. Mm-hmm. Like maybe you don't want to make the military career, or you got out like you did, and you don't want to, do that for 10 years. That's the longest contract I've ever heard of as well.
Yeah, dude.
I've heard of, 2 years, the standard 4-year, and then 6-year for like if you're going aviation repair or something like that.
Yeah, and that's 6 years after flight school. So you're really going to have 9 years, depending on how long that takes and where you go and how fast you get there. So it makes no sense.
Kind of to segue from that, we'll get back to the Pogue and Grunt thing. Mm-hmm. So how much exposure and like what amount of time during your contract did you do work with Pogues? And also for anyone that's wondering, Pogue stands for personnel other than Grunt. I feel like the majority of people that watch your videos are going to know that, but
yeah, I to be honest with you, man, not a lot of people watch these kind. I do things on computers, and those get like 20,000-30,000 views like every couple months.
Sounds about right.
It's dope. That's cool. Nobody gives a shit about this, but I think that the people that do watch it, they watch it for a reason. So it's good to throw it out there. But
it's good. I'm more than down to do a computer video with you as well. I have about $4,000 worth of computer parts that are sitting right next to me.
We could do like a setup overview or something. But what was your question at the?
It was your exposure to Pogues. Like how often did you work with them, like directly or for any certain duration of time?
The ones that were directly attached to us were the only ones that I liked, and I think now they kind of segregate the grunts from everybody, and I think it kind of helps animosity, but it's whatever. I mean, I knew the ones that were the comm guys that were directly attached with us. They went to the field with us, and they stayed in the same barracks as us. And then I knew some motor T guys that were kind of the same way on the first floor. And so our barracks was 4 or 5 stories. The first story was all Pogues that were attached, and then everybody else lived above that. But just 1 or 2, I don't remember seeing a whole lot of non-grunt guys. Like just the few that were attached to our platoon that we saw regularly, and then there was 1s and 2s there that came and left, but I wasn't very exposed to them at all.
I got a really good experience to work with them when I was attached to the 31st MU, because out of our entire 31st MU, the support people are the smallest group. The infantry guys make up like anywhere from 1,000 to 1,200 of those people that end up going on ship. I had really, really positive experiences with them. So we were structured the same way as you. It was like a level system. It was a 4-story building, and it was Recon Marines were on the first floor. We were on the second floor, which was almost exclusively commo guys and maybe like a few cooks or something. And then the top 2 floors were all grunts. But I remember when I was in Okinawa, we all just used to like go out, drink, and have a good time, and everyone was pretty respectful. Outside of one guy who attacked me with a sword, but
Well, there you go.
he was having a good time. He found a sword under his bed, and I'm all of like 135 pounds, by the way.
Yeah.
So he's literally, and it's not like a little sword. It's literally, he's probably 6'2", and it went like up to his chest.
Oh man.
And he's like dragging it across the ground, and he was like, "You, what's your name?" I was like, "I'm Herbert, man." And he was like, "You a Pogue?" And I was like, "Yeah, bro." He's got, and also, by the way, he's got a half-empty bottle of Kettle One in his other hand. So, yeah, that ended really well. And I was like, "You're way bigger than I am, but I guarantee you I'm faster than you."
Yeah.
So that's how that ended up. I just ended up running up the stairs. Homeboy almost cut himself open with that damn sword.
So it was a real one. It wasn't like a.
It was a legit sharpened, like gigantic. So it was sharpened, but did you ever see the guys at the PX that stand outside, like the heritage swords? And they'd be like, what's your last name? So it was that, but it had razor sharp edges, which means either homeboy took a whetstone to it or he found it like that.
He probably just found it like that. That's what.
Yeah. No, it was,
doesn't really
it was
sound
a good
smart
time.
enough to sharpen it.
Bro, he got dome rocked too by his E5.
Did he?
One of the guys from upstairs came downstairs. I was doing keg stands and a bunch of other shit. They were asking me about how to get like IT certifications and stuff.
Yeah.
So he ended up showing up and just absolutely worked him over.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, you realize I'm not going to get tired, dude. I can literally run around these barracks for like 9 hours. I think at that time I was running 3 miles in like 17:25.
Damn.
Yeah.
I think my fastest time was like 19:30, 19:20. And that was like moving it for me.
That's still pretty good though, because you've got easily like 40, 50 pounds on me?
Probably. I mean, I'm doing right now. I can do 2 miles in about 14 minutes, like 13 and a half to 14 minutes. And I'm 200. But I'm better running shape than I was then.
Yeah, I will say I would 100% just shred on the run time for whatever reason. That's a huge metric in the Army for officers.
Yeah, dude. Like I've been really trying to like do cardio. I run 2 to 4 mile like. Sections. I break half miles up and I try to run them at 10 to 12 miles an hour, and then I'll rest about a minute, and then I'll do that 4 to 8 times. And then I've been kickboxing and doing a bunch of stuff trying to just, and I still haven't been eating right, so like I'm not really losing any weight, but my lungs are getting a lot better. So I really do need to cut though to like 180 and just be like quick.
No, I used to do the 1 mile breakdown, which was it was something that our cross country coach came up with, but it's like you do 100s, 200s, and 400s, and then a single mile at the end. And it's literally a mile with each of those. So you just do 100s until it amounts to a mile, 200s until it amounts to a mile, 1 mile. And then when I was in cross country, we would start and stop with 2 miles. Yeah. So it ends up being a ridiculous distance, but it's really good for like, it's similar to like a running style of HIIT training. Yeah. To let your heart rate go down and get back up. But,
Yeah.
Let me see.
Man. I think I don't know what creates that animosity, like why you just hate. I think you're just, to be honest with you, I think you're just bred to hate in general. It's like it's when I hit the fleet, like that night we had our seniors made us fight each other. My phone's ringing. Our seniors made us fight each other. And we ran like it was close to like 10 miles. We did the obstacle course in the middle of the night, like a bunch. And then like all the seniors were like drunk as shit, and they were like throwing up and like running. And they were like, "I ain't quitting. You're not gonna quit." And they were like throwing up, like it was crazy. And then that like became like kind of a normal thing. Like it wouldn't be really anything to like get off work at 5 or whatever, and then I would go to the gym or I'd go eat dinner or whatever, and then like 8 or 9, everybody be like, we're going on a flak run, and then you get done at 2, and then you got to wake up for formation at 6 or whatever. So like it's common.
I would say that's a pivotal difference, because that's literally never happened to me. I've had like drunk NCOs show up and try to like basically just flex on me and the other people that were in the barracks, but that doesn't go over very well, especially in the Pogue world. Like what you're talking about really would not float.
Yeah, stop. Shush. Yeah, I don't know. I remember a couple. Stop. Shush. I remember there was a couple times where, you know, they'd be like, "Well, you got to fight each other. You got to fight us," and I'd be like, "All right." You know, like
that never happened with us. The only time that did happen was like if you really messed up. It wouldn't just be something that they came up with in the middle of the night, but if you messed up, like I had a master sergeant that he would straight up tell you, he's like, "We're gonna go practice some McMap upstairs.
We're gonna go hike in your room."
Bro, he's like 6'6", like damn near 280 pounds. That dude was a unit.
Yeah, I used to be like super like rough just on people, and I never like really did when it was my turn to be the senior Marine. Like I never just fought people to fight them. But I remember when I got out of AIC, I was going to the armory to like do something. They called me there. I had to go there or something. I don't know. But there was a bunch of boots outside the armory, and they were like all laughing and joking and stuff. And I was like, it just pissed me off because probably in my head I was like, man, that never happened. You know, that never would have happened with me. And I remember just looking at them, and I was like, "You think it's funny now?" And just like I just checked my gun out, and they just all stopped, and I was like, "We'll see what's happening." And I remember looking at one of them, and in particular, that was like just on his phone, and he just kind of like rolled his eyes at me, and I was like, "All right, cool." So then the next day we had a hike, and that same kid fell out of the hike, and I was like,
"Of course he did."
Yeah, I was like, "Okay, you did it to yourself."
You gotta get strong.
Other than that, I mean, I don't know. I never was. I don't feel like I was malicious.
Yeah, which is, I mean, that's an important distinction to make. Like whether or not it's like the difference between disciplining a child and then punching a child in the face because like some stupid shit.
Yeah, and like, dude, I think I didn't care. I mean, it sucked. Don't get me wrong, it sucked. Like it was rough. I remember one weekend, or the first weekend I got to the fleet, I didn't leave my room. I didn't eat from Friday until Monday because I was just like, can't fight anymore, man. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like I'm just so beat up. I was like, I can't go again. You know, like I'm just gonna hang out here and just stay in the room. And all I had was my phone. And I just remember that whole weekend I just stayed in my room. And then when Monday came, it didn't even really process that that's what I did. Until Monday came, and I was like getting lightheaded in formation, and I was like, "Why am I so lightheaded?" And I was like, "I haven't eaten."
I haven't eaten in
yeah.
So that's just completely foreign to me, man. Like I do. Well, one thing that I will say is like when I was at the schoolhouse, that was actually way rougher, and it depended on your MOS. But a lot of the radio operators, especially people who have been deployed back to back, back when they used to, it wasn't, you know, strictly the 9-month deployments. You might be in Afghanistan or Iraq for literally like 18 months. You could double your deployment time. Like there was ridiculous deployments until they realized that a bunch of people commit suicide if you do that because you're just too integrated into that lifestyle for too long. But I remember there was one dude, massive guy, and there was a kid who was failing all of his tests. So he was like, "Hey, get rid of your electronics. I don't care if you put them in someone else's room. You're not going to have a TV. You're not going to have a PlayStation. You will have the computer that we issued you, and that's it." Shows up that night at like 1800, and freaking homeboy's just sitting in there playing video games instead of studying. Rips his TV out of the wall, pulls his wall locker over, almost kills the kid, dropping the wall locker on him, throws all of his shit off the second story, off the second deck balcony. And then the kid's like, "What the fuck?" And he literally grabbed the kid and threw him off. There's sand at the bottom. He was all right. Which was the funniest part of that is all you hear is like this 150-pound kid just get yeeted.
Getting yeeted,
you hear, poof. Sand goes everywhere. He's like, "I'm all right."
You don't have a choice, bro. We're about to go on a run.
No, but that dude was straight up. He was about to beat. I feel like he threw him over because he would have probably done something way worse if he didn't. So I've been exposed to like light cases of that, but my command was like my peer group and then my NCOs were the only thing that mattered as an 0651 was your job proficiency. If your job proficiency was low and your work ethic was low, you were just dirt. Yeah. Like we were going to put you on gate guard. We'd put you wherever we wanted to, get you out of the workplace, and you took every shit detail that we had. So that was where the emphasis was for us, was just learn your job, study when you're outside of work, and get better, which benefited me massively. Coming out of that, because I worked as a remote systems engineer, and now I do network architecture for the Department of State. So
well, there you go.
Yeah, but I think that's like really the pivotal difference is like the physical stuff with you guys is so paramount. And
yeah, it's got to be. You got to shoot and move, man. That's the job. Like being physically able-bodied to kill somebody is not trying to be dramatic, but like if you have to do it with a rifle, you have to do it with a rifle. If you have to do it with your hands, you do it with your hands. Yep. But it's either like you win or you don't, and nobody wants to not live. So, I mean, yeah. But it's like you're saying though with that kid, some people are just so dumb that you have to beat them for them to understand. Like,
well, the thing is though with that, he literally passed all of his tests and graduated after that. Like I feel like Mike Tyson has a great quote on this. Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. Mm-hmm. Like that kid, legit, there was no world where he was getting thrown off of the second story balcony. However, that world exists the second he hits the floor off of a second story balcony. Mm-hmm. So once that happened, he was like, okay, this dude's, if I keep on doing what I'm doing, that dude's legit going to jack me up.
Yep.
Like it might not be this easy. Yeah, it might not be this easy next time. Mm-hmm. Most of my electronics are still going to work. He took them and he put them in our room too.
Yeah.
But he actually buckled down. He started to study because there are legit, like you said, there are people that you like really have to smack them to like get them to do something because I'll try like 2 or 3 different things, but if that doesn't work, then that's what it always resorts to. Yeah. Which even with my frame size and job description, I'm a very loud individual, so that typically resolves issues because there will be people like when I was teaching courses and stuff, I had lieutenants, staff NCOs and stuff that would show up and they just didn't think they had to learn shit. Yeah. And I'm like, you're at my course, you're on my time. Yeah. Here's the deal. You can stand the fuck up, you can walk out. Or you, and also my number one thing was if you showed up to my classes without a pen and paper, I would just kick you out immediately.
Yeah.
Well, you can't kick me out because I'm a lieutenant. Go talk to your chain of command.
Yeah.
Because I literally, okay, it's either you leave or no one's learning anything because I'm not going to kick off this course until you're gone.
Yeah.
Like you're going to disrespect me like that. You're going to show up here and be like, oh yeah, I'm not going to take notes on anything. Like this the back in the day before like everyone had freaking laptops that they bring. If you had a laptop, that's cool. But
yeah,
you're not going to disrespect me by showing up and sitting there and playing on your phone just because you're fucking second or first lieutenant. Like, get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I think a lot of it, at least with us, was like, if you couldn't do it, if you, like, for example, if we went to a comm class and you couldn't talk on the radio, somebody was probably going to get hurt because of it. It's not like, it's not something to mess with. Like nobody wants to be the one that gets shot because of somebody else's mistake. You know what I mean?
I think universally that's something that gets bred into Marines though, significantly more than the other branches is like a we above me mentality.
Yeah.
Cause in boot camp, when we were legit, not to, go on a boot camp story rant, but when we were legit getting jacked up, like 2 hours of, you put the scuzz brush, which is a brush that's about this big in front of your face, you literally get down and you run back and forth for like 2 straight hours. The only thing that I was thinking about when I'm like completely drained and people are like legit busting their face on the ground, I was like, I stopped caring about myself because I realized that the more people that fell out of that, like the more we got jacked up. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be that guy. Be the one.
Yeah. Actually, that's a lot of the reasons why I even passed AIC in the first place. Because I didn't want to be there and I thought it was horrible. And I was one of a few lances going to a corporal and sergeant's course, so like it was like if I would have fell out, it wouldn't have mattered because I wasn't supposed to be there anyway, but like I just that mentality, like if I don't do this, then everybody else is going to be worse off because of it, and that's really, I guess, what kept me going. Because I didn't want to be the one that couldn't do it, and then I also didn't want other people to have to suffer the repercussions for my actions.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I didn't even really think about myself until probably my last year in the Marine Corps. Almost everything exclusively was for the collective.
Yeah.
And I will say one thing about the Army. The Army is really kind of, and this is specifically within the enlisted ranks, it's kind of the opposite. It's what can the Army offer me? What do I get walking out of this? I didn't even think about what I would get walking out of this until literally my last year. When I started taking my own courses, I would go to cyber networking courses and stuff, Cisco courses. But until then, it was literally, what can I do to make life easier for the whole group of us and the people around me?
Yeah.
And that really did start with boot camp though. Because before then I was just a hyper competitive, like cross country runner. Anything that I did was just revolved around me. Yeah. And how can I make myself shine out the best? But I think that's a national issue as well. This me above we mentality that's breeding just terrible people.
Yeah. And I remember when I had my OCS, I had an OCS interview, and the OCS guy was like, he was telling me, it was, I don't want to say who it was or whatever, but he just can't, he rubbed me super weird because he was like, we got on the phone, and then and I'm guessing this is because of what the recruiter told him how my personality was, which I don't, whatever. But anyway, so we get on the phone, and he's like, I just want to talk about me for a minute. And I'm like, all right, man, whatever. Like, and he's like, I was an Army infantry guy, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, that's cool, dude. And I could tell it was kind of bothering him that I wasn't like, oh, that's sick. But like, I was just like, cool, man. Like, that's cool, like it's all chill. And then he was like, I know your prior, oh no, this, okay, let me, and then he said, you're not prior service, so you don't have to worry about any of that. And I was like, no, I am. Like, I'm prior service infantry also. And then he started to talk about how the Army infantry and the Marine Corps infantry are the same, and that, like, it's one and the other. And I'm like, I was just like, it's not.
So not to interrupt you, I'll let you get back to your point, but a pivotal point where they are different. Do you know how fast Army infantry people get promoted? It's ludicrous. It is the exact opposite of the Marine Corps. Because did you pick up corporal before you got out?
No, I was a Lance Corporal squad leader, baby.
Yeah, so E3. If you were an E3 coming out of your enlistment in the Army, typically you'll be an E5. That is the projection by the end of your first enlistment being infantry. Everyone that I went to BLC, because I had to go back through BLC, which is essentially sergeant's course. And when I went through there, I was with a bunch of infantry dudes, and they were like, yeah, I've been in for like a year and a half, 2 years. And they're E4 going on to pick up E5. Thanks, evidently, man. The promotion rate is astronomically higher because they can't retain people. Whereas the Marine Corps, they just cut it off. The scores get closed. Yeah. I was trying to tell them about that, and they were like, there's no way people get in and out and come out as an E3. And I'm like, no, it happens all the time. It's literally, there's a term for it called terminal lance. Yep. Like, there's a whole probably multi-million-dollar comic about it. Like, that's an absolute fact. So that's a pivotal difference between the two, if not, from a financial aspect, but from a responsibility aspect. And I think the responsibility differentiation between the two branches is massive as well. Yeah. Because I've seen E6s and E7s that probably have the same workload as an E5 in the Marine Corps. Like the same expectation.
It's probably why they probably retain, I don't know. I feel like, and maybe just the Army's bigger, but I feel like the Marines that stay are like, they shit Marine Corps for years to come. The Army guys aren't really like that, but I think they're bred kind of in the Marine Corps that way, to just accept that like horrible workload in the name of the Marine Corps, and they just hold the Marine Corps on their shoulder like that, and then that's why you get the once a Marine, always a Marine, and all that stuff. Yeah,
and all the bumper stickers, and lanyards, and whatnot. But
anyways, going back to the story, what I was trying to get at is that the dude that was interviewing me was saying that he thinks that Marines have problems looking out for each other compared to the compared
Okay.
to the Army guys. And I was like, what? You know, and he was like, yeah, Marines just tend to like worry about themselves when they in the sense of going to OCS, like I guess because they put you in squads and they put you in like leadership positions, and then he was like Marine, and in my head I was like, maybe that's true in the sense that the things that Marines look out for other Marines, like PCIs, PCEs, the patrol checks, all the good stuff, the knowledge base of it, you do have to. There's a base level understanding there. So what I'm thinking is he was getting at was that maybe the Marines think that the stuff that they shouldn't have to talk about that should be on the same level isn't. Maybe that's what he's coming from, but I just couldn't see like his point. He was like, Marines just don't look out for each other, and I was like, nah, man.
I don't think that that's true at all, because when I got out of the Army, the only people that hit me up were Marines.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of people that I relied on for like moral or emotional support were also Marines. The people that I hung out with while I was in the Army were prior service Marines. I was literally a roommate from reception where we picked up our uniforms to the last day that I left the Army with a prior service Marine. So to say that we don't look out for each other is absolute BS. Like I remember my buddy needed a car. I was gone at ALC. He had asked people that were gone, like probably 4 or 5 different people for their cars. And I'm like, yeah, dude, just take mine. Don't worry about it. Mm-hmm. And then same thing. So he leaves for ALC and I'm stuck there, and I didn't have my car. It ended up because I got in a bad car accident. Mm-hmm. And same exact thing. He was like, yeah, dude, don't even worry about it. Just make sure it's full. And he didn't even have to tell me, but like, make sure it's full on gas, get an oil change and whatnot while he's gone. Yeah. Like, it's just basic stuff that we look out for with each other. And I don't know of really anyone by name that I could say would do that in the Army. Yeah. Which is really unsettling. Because in the Marine Corps, that's no big thing.
No, like, dude. I would probably be like, put your name on the insurance.
Yeah, like, and we did that as well.
Yeah. I would just say, like, maintain it and put your name on the insurance. So if you hit something or somebody hits you, I'm not out of car. And straight, dude, whatever.
Well, the one time that I did trust an Army person with my vehicle, they popped my tire. So I was gone for a 96, and I ended up going to like Oklahoma City, I think it was, with the other prior service guy. Mm. And I was like, yeah, I told the dude, I was like, yeah, it's no problem if you need to borrow my car, because when you go to the schoolhouse, they tell you not to bring your car, even though you're supposed to. Mm. You have to drive back and forth. But he didn't have his car with him. So I'm like, yeah, no worries. So I was gone. I'm completely away from post. I get back and I look in the parking lot and my tires popped. And he's like, yeah, I don't know if it was you or me, but someone drove over a nail. And I'm like, okay, well, like, you're going to change my tire? Because that clearly wasn't me, man.
Yeah. When I gave it to you, they were all fine. Now they're not. What do you think happened, man?
And the nail was still in there. Like, he didn't even put the spare on or anything.
Yeah, or like get a $5 or $10 tire fix flat kit and just spend 5 minutes and take the nail out and put the fix flat in and then be done. Just tell you, obviously, you know. But like, he could have just pulled the nail out and put the thing in and just been like, if it has a problem, I'll give you $100 for a tire. Like, Jesus.
Yep. Yeah, and it had been sitting on the rims for like 2 days. So I'm just like, all right, buddy. So then that kind of removed my trust from the Army, and I was like, yeah, I'm not loaning anyone anything anymore. Like, unless if it's something passive for cheap, but definitely not my car.
Yeah. Well, Haley's here, and I gotta go to the kickboxing for the night. But
Alrighty, man.
I'll hit you up. I'll put this up, and we'll go from there. And if you're watching this and you want another video, we'll do another one and talk about some other stuff. What I'd like to do in the future is do get like 5 to 8 of us, different MOSs, to just talk about like different viewpoints on different things. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, I know plenty of people on the Pogue side that'd be down for that. As a matter of fact, some of them that have YouTube channels, and then they either do that or podcast. So
yeah, it'd be cool to do something. Just there's so many, like, for me at least, there's so many, like, I'm into building computers. I have the 0311 pass. I was an instructor for Santa Rosa County, like, shooting wise, and then I've done sporting clays. Like, I like kickboxing. I like working out. I do Olympic weightlifting. I like snowboarding. There's so many different things to make videos on, and like, I'm still like, have no ideas. So
Yeah,
I mean,
I know. For me, I'd love to. I know a lot of people don't view these types of videos, but the pathway for like college-free IT work,
yeah,
where it doesn't cost you that much money, because there's a very clear-cut path, but no one knows it because it's not telegraphed very well from the companies that provide it. But the Marine Corps breaks it down, and I learned from that, and that got me where I am. So
yeah. I mean, whatever you have ideas on or whatever you want to do, I guess that's, and in closing, that's the big difference. I think, like, my recommendation, if somebody's looking at this to wonder if they want to be infantry Marine or not, do it because you want to do it and no other reason. Like, you're not going to get anything out of it other than being good at shooting if you let yourself learn, because there's plenty of infantry dudes out there that aren't good. You know, they're hard to teach and they don't want to learn, and they're just there and they kind of give up halfway through, you know, whatever. Like, unless you're going to soak up all the information and stuff, you're not going to come out on the end better. You know,
Yeah.
I think that goes for both sides, but there's no career field at the end of this. You know what I mean? Like, you can be a cop, or you can, like me, I went to school, I have a bachelor's now, and now I'm going to go do something else with the education, but nobody's going to pay you to shoot and move other than private contracting, which I do have a friend that he said it's about $500 a day, and he does 2-month contracts, 2 months there, 2 months home. But outside of that, you know what I mean? There's not going to be.
Yeah, and once their positions are filled, they're filled.
Yeah.
IT's endless, and it costs about $1,200 to get a $50,000 a year job, and like 3 months of your time versus going to college for a super long time. But again, you have to be into it. If you're not into it, you're just screwed. But I completely agree with you on the infantry side. But yeah, man, thanks for having me though.
Yeah, and thanks for chilling. I'll upload this and tag you in it, or put it on the old Facebooks or wherever you want me to put it, so you can get to it. And
yeah, man,
go from there, man.
Yeah, I'm subbed to you on YouTube, so I'll probably just watch it on there. But sounds good, brother.
All right, I'll see you.
Take it easy.
You too.